What's up, guys? How's it going, y'all? Bowling Green post game. 58-24. Pretty much exactly what I thought was going to happen. I predicted 52-23, so I was pretty much on the money with that one. I thought maybe it could go a little bit higher for us. We did give up that late touchdown there, but all in all, good day. Not all that impressive. Not like anything that jumps off the page at you as wow, and nothing really that jumps off the page at you as like holy shit, we got to get our shit fixed. Couple of injury updates. Cam McCormick did break his leg. He's done for the year, starting tight end. A lot of Duck fans are going to be honest with themselves. If we could afford to get an injury somewhere, tight end is pretty much the place to do it. Jacob Breland, who was the backup Saturday, was a starter all year last year. To be honest with you guys, I wasn't that impressed with Cam McCormick. I just never really thought that he was the better of the two tight ends. I think Breland gives us a better chance, passing-wise, to have success. And with the way the receivers played yesterday, or Saturday, I should say, we're going to need all the help we can get. As soon as they get the drops figured out, this wide receiving core is going to be talented. Dylan Mitchell's in for a big year. I think Johnny Johnson's in for a big year. Red will have to learn how to catch. He did make up for it with 2 touchdown catches. So you can't dog on him too much. He did well there at the end. But early on, it might just be jitters. It might be, getting into the flow of things first, again, for the first time in a long time. But you shouldn't be dropping 2 balls that were right in your hands. And honestly, the interceptions were on red as well. Herbert's 2 late picks were on red. He didn't finish the routes, and he just wasn't committing to the ball. So get that figured out, and it'll be good. But I think Braylon gives us a better chance vertically than McCormick did. Personally, I could be completely wrong, but that's what I thought. And honestly, the way our offensive line was blocking there late in the game, right when we started clicking, we're not going to really need blocking tight ends. That was kind of the thing about McCormick is Cristobal liked his blocking ability. But with the way Panay was blocking and the way that offensive line was blocking, I think we're going to be just fine going between the tackles, and we don't really have to do a lot of outside stuff. And who knows, we might find another option to, instead of playing Breland, bring in another offensive lineman. We'll figure it out. Cristobal is an offensive line genius, so he'll get it going. Defensively, really like the way the defensive line and the linebackers played yesterday. Early, of course, they got burned, and it was looking kind of like 10-0, like, oh my God, what the fuck? But they figured it out. Apello impressed me. Winston, before he got hurt, impressed me. And Jalen Jelks and Falea, Austin, let's just call him Austin. Austin F. impressed me along that defensive line. Those guys jumped off the page at you as like, holy smokes, they were dominating. And yes, it was Bowling Green, but they were playing aggressive the whole way, and it was really fun to see. The cornerbacks and the safeties, the secondary in general, they're talented and they're young. Dominic Lenore, he got banged up. That's why I think Steve Stevens was in the game when he got burned on that 63-yard touchdown. Otherwise, maybe Lenore's in there. I'm not sure when Lenore got banged up, so don't quote me on that. That could have been a rotation thing. Javon Holland impressed me the little bit I heard his name. And overall, I like our secondary crew. We're just so young, it's going to take us a while to figure it out. And I said this in my preseason video, if we stay healthy in the secondary, we're going to be fine. We cannot afford a long-term injury in the secondary. Now, Lenore and Winston both got banged up. They're both probably, I guess you could say, questionable for Portland State. They're both on the depth chart. They're both starting on the depth chart. And now it's kind of just wait-and-see mode. And if they miss the next 2 games, we'll be okay. In fact, that might be ideal to get Stevens and Holland more run. We might give up more points that way, but overall, we'll win the ball games. I'm more concerned about Winston's injury. Winston and Lenore are pretty even in necessity for this team. We need linebackers. Keith Sims, Winston's backup, was around the ball a lot when he was in there. I noticed him always flying to the ball, always kind of in the right place at the right time. Even though he necessarily didn't make a lot of tackles or, be the first guy there, he was going to be there to wrap up the play if something were to get away from the initial tackler. Tackling, speaking of that, once we got the ball rolling offensively, the defense fed off that, and they started tackling better as well. So this team is going to be very momentum-based, as a lot of teams usually are, but once we started rolling and clicking offensively, that really helped our defense out up here mentally. So they were tackling better. Like I said, I was really impressed with the defensive line and the linebackers specifically, and am really excited to see how the secondary can kind of improve on a so-so day. They got burned quite a bit by Bowling Green's receivers, and Stanford has some studs. I'm not too impressed with their quarterback, but Stanford has some studs that I'm worried about later on in the year. We'll get to that when we get to Stanford. But next week, Portland State, in my opinion, a more inferior opponent than Bowling Green. Bowling Green, I think, has some talent, some places where the Ducks just are pretty thin at, depth-wise. But Portland State is Portland State. They won, 2 games last year? Maybe they didn't even win that. So, should be another easy romp. We should get to see a lot of Burmeister and Shuck on the backup quarterback side. Speaking of Burmeister, in my opinion, he looked like he regressed from last year. Don't ask me how that's possible, but he does really look like a quarterback that does not know what's going on. There was a couple of plays where he just threw the ball on the ground because the defense was bearing down on him, and he didn't know where to throw the ball to. The offensive line gave him enough time to throw it away into the stands, but he just was too nervous to even do that. So I don't like Burmeister as my backup quarterback, but then you're throwing a true freshman in there. So we'll see. They're going to play with the new red shirt rule, so it's kind of just a work in progress with the backup. Knock on wood, we won't need the backup quarterback spot. A lot of fans talked about Justin Herbert's runs that Cristobal gave him, or that Arroyo gave him, combination of both, I guess. And to me personally, I don't have a problem with it. Justin's going to need to run the ball for us to be successful later on in the year. We're going to need to make our run game two-dimensional. So it's better to run him now and get him used to running that out of the new sets and with the new backs than it is to start doing that later in the year and, have a chance for a mistake. And we saw a couple of trips in the game where him and the running back were just not on the same page. So it's better to get that worked out against Bowling Green, Portland State, San Jose State, before we get to Stanford and Washington and all the Pac-12 teams we're going to have to play this year. So as always, guys, go Ducks. I'll have my Portland State video up sometime later in the week, and y'all have a great one.